can't respectfully tweak things already happening. And as this member has said, there's been some progress made.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Assembly Member Dismore.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. And do you remember during the election campaign visiting West Hendon Estate in Conservative Barnet and speaking to residents there who are getting an even rawer deal than is even suggested in this question in terms of the rehousing of tenants, particularly unprotected tenants, and also leaseholders? The same is about to happen in Graham Park in Conservative
This
Barnet
is a bit tenuous, Assembly Member Dismore. Can you sort of relate it more closely to...
Yes, well, if you, going back to your original constraints, Chair, if you actually look at the question rather than the statement at the start of the question, it's about the rights of tenants and leaseholders rather than the specific of the estate.
Well, it actually refers to Ealing, not Barnet.
Yes, but the question actually talks about the rights of tenants in regenerated estates rather than a statement at the beginning of it. So I'm sticking to your constraints and actually talking about the question rather than the statement. The point I wanted to make, Mr. Mayor, is whether, having visited those estates, you'll have a look at the permissions that went through City Hall to see if any of them can be revisited. Indeed, some further permissions may be required from City Hall, and perhaps you could ask the Deputy Mayor for Housing to look and see what can be done around those two estates. And in particular, in parentheses, perhaps you could also make sure that Barnet actually registers people who have been moved to vote because they failed to do so in the last election. And perhaps we could also ask you if you'd like to visit Baxton Estate in Camden, where regeneration has been done very sympathetically and with the support of residents who are all very happy, to show, in contrast, how Labour Camden can do it as opposed to Conservative Barnet, who've really screwed up the residents very badly.
Thank you for that question, Senator Dismore, and for your kind words. It's good to be colleagues again. Look, I mean, can I just say, firstly, yes, of course, I'll come and visit the estate you referred to in Camden. What I've said in my manifesto is that I'll require that estate regeneration only takes place where there is resident support, and this must be based on full and transparent consultation, and that demolition is only permitted where it does not result in a loss of social housing, and where all other options have been exhausted. And this should include the full right to return for the displaced tenants and a fair deal to leaseholders. Clearly, there is an issue about whether we can issue a supplementary planning guidance. There's an issue about the next London plan. And I've got to be cautious about not retrospectively looking at decisions that have already happened before I became the Mayor. But obviously, I take on point the comments made by Assembly Member Dismore. But if things that have come to me for approval, you know, those are the principles that I'll stand by.
Childcare in the capital. Building community relations. Assembly Member Dismore.
Thank you, Chairman. During the mayoral election campaign, I stated that I'd be proud to be mayor of a city where those from different backgrounds don't simply tolerate each other, but respect, embrace and celebrate our diversity. And I'll strive to be a mayor for all Londoners throughout my mayoralty. My subsequent election wasn't just a vindication of this, but a mandate to push ahead with policies that bolster community cohesion and celebrate London's diversity. As Mayor, I'm committed to building stronger communities in shared spaces through planning, housing and regeneration policies. And I want all Londoners to have the opportunity to feed into these strategies so they'll have real impact. I also want to encourage active citizenship among Londoners to improve integration and community relations. I'll be meeting with City Hall teams to develop strategies and programmes that enable people from different communities to meet and engage with one another. I'll also be meeting with the various faith groups in London to see how we can use their great sense of civic duty, tireless effort and excellent community contacts to address some of London's main problems. I also intend to celebrate our diversity through events such as International Women's Day, Black History Month, Holocaust Memorial Day, Interfaith Week, the Remembrance Service and religious festivals. One of the first things I did as Mayor was to attend with you, Assembly Member Dismore, a Holocaust event where I had the privilege to meet Holocaust survivors and hear their stories. This occasion also gave me a further opportunity to find out more about the appalling increase in anti-Semitic attacks in London. These conversations serve to reinforce my commitment to adopt a zero-tolerance attitude towards all forms of hate crime.
Well, thank you for that answer, which I think is a very positive approach to the issue. Do you think that the Conservative campaign in the election had a divisive effect on communities in London?
Chairman, can I answer that this way? I mean, I'm trying to be magnanimous, Andrew. But my concern is this. I've spent my entire life trying to encourage young people, particularly those from minority communities, to get involved in mainstream society, to get involved in mainstream politics, to get involved in civic society. And my concern is, has the Conservative campaign set back the cause? If you're a young Londoner from a minority community, if you're a young Londoner who's a Muslim, are you going to think once, twice, 3 times about whether you stand for public office, get involved in mainstream politics, or think, sod that? If you're a parent, an uncle, auntie, a grandparent, a mentor, will you hand on heart encourage young Londoners of Islamic faith, young Londoners from diverse backgrounds to get involved in mainstream politics? And that's why we've got to redouble our efforts, all of us, to encourage all Londoners to get involved in mainstream politics, to understand this is their city hall. We serve at their pleasure, and we be the best assembly and the best mayor the city's ever seen.
Well, I think that's also very positive. And one of the concerns I had was the sort of the crude stereotyping that we saw in the campaign from the Conservative Party, particularly, for example, towards South Asians, talking about you taking away their jewellery through some sort of stupid tax. And that is the crudest sort of stereotyping. But I am concerned it may have had some traction. What are you going to try and do to rebuild relations or improve relations with the South Asian communities?
Okay, can I just reassure all Londoners, Chairman, who are Sikh, Hindus or Tamils, your gold is safe with me as the Mayor of London. And it's worth just... It's just...
I hope everybody else's gold is safe as well.
Just, those are the communities the Tories targeted.
Yeah.
But it's worth reminding ourselves there were decent people in the Tory party who were critical of the campaign. There were decent people in the Tory party who spoke out about this. And, you know, this is not tribal. That type of politics has had its day. The results on May the 5th showed not simply the Conservative Party who chose that campaign, showed the country and the world that actually London chose hope over fear and unity over division. There's a reason why Donald Trump made me the exception to his stupid rule. And my point to Donald Trump is I'm not the exception. You know, there are the vast majority of Muslims condemn unequivocally acts of terror done in the name of Islam. And those of us who choose to live in London, those of us who were born here, don't simply have friends from different faiths or not members of an organised faith. We take pride in that. They're members of our family. We work with them. We break bread with them. And I want to be Mayor for all Londoners, Andrew.
Again, that's a very positive response, Mr Mayor. Could I also raise the point you made about the Jewish community and anti-Semitism? And certainly at the event at Alliance Park, it was a very successful event for the community, but also in terms of the way they opened out to you. And that's something really to be built on. And I think you did a very good job in trying to reassure the Jewish community throughout the campaign. And I very much welcome your statement about anti-Semitism, which I think is a real issue. And in this context, one of the real problems we faced during the campaign were the comments of Ken Livingstone, which I think were absolutely appalling. Do you agree with me that one of the best things we could possibly do to reassure people is to have Ken Livingstone thrown out of the Labour Party?
Well, I mean, at the time he said those comments, I heard them moments after he said them, and I was clear in my mind they were appalling and disgusting, and there can be no place for people with those views in our party.
Assembly Member Bay.